let's talk about a potential new idea that some of you might not have. So, in Pokemon, competitive Pokemon, obviously, one of the systems for tiering includes 0, 0U, 2, 1U, 2U, etc., all the way down to the absolute bottom, most unofficial tier where everything else that isn't 6U or over exists, and that's 7U. This is a tier of Pokemon where Meowth is considered horrifyingly terrifying.
Press him, press him! Put pressure on him!
I picked up a barrel break from the thrift store, and it's a whole meme-tastic thing that came around in 2009, 2010, I think. So that got me thinking, what if I were to try to construct a loadout and a game mode that made some of the crappiest blasters that you might imagine suddenly super feasible again? Now, in my mind, the whole scenario for what this was all about was you got teleported to about Christmas of 2007. You don't have any of your modern gear, you don't have any of your modern blasters, you don't have modern ammo, any of that. You just have what you can buy in 2007 for a stock war to get back to your own time. Now let's talk about what you actually have with you. This, forget about this. There's nothing that shoots this hard, nothing that shoots half darts. You can't go to Walmart and pick one of these up. In fact, you can't even go to Walmart and pick one of these up to get it from Amazon. You don't have 22-round magazines. You have 6s. 12-rounders wouldn't be a thing until the Elite line came out, and 18-rounders came out with the Stampede, which is 2.5 years away. It came out in Christmas of 2010. The Vulcan isn't out yet because that comes out in 2008. And when that came out, that was the highest capacity anything you had, which was 25 rounds. Now the Vulcan is considered a meme because it's so trash by today's standards. The Recon also isn't out yet. So what exactly do you have access to? Now, granted, I have some of the re-releases, but they're just for illustrative purposes, so I thought about putting together a general loadout idea for a retro loadout of 2007, where all of the stuff that I have would have been available to the user in 2007. Not in the same paint scheme, but hey. So, let's go over some of the things you probably would have actually liked and would have actually been competitive in a stock event in 2007. So first off, this thing. You're probably looking at me like, what the fuck is this thing? Well, this is a rapid fire tech. It shoots Buzzbee stickies, Buzzbee shells. Now you can get modern shells for this thing that make it not suck balls, makes you able to actually shoot modern darts out of it. You can also shoot just X-shot darts out of the stock ones, but you can still get the shells, and this is one of the main things that you had to worry about back in 2007. Ammo compatibility. Not everything was one type of dart. Not everything was Elite Dart focused. Buzzbee shells would have been your common ammo types. You probably wouldn't have had more than a couple of magazines of this. But this is certainly one of the things you could have actually ended up using in 2007. And yes, these magazines suck. And they're annoying and they're gross. But that's just one of the things, because here's another thing about 2007. everything shot about 55 FPS. So everything was about 20% less powerful than stock stuff is now. You know what else you could have gotten for a primary? You could have gotten a Maverick. Yes, cylinders really did not extend very far, and there's a special mod for this. Penny modding was a thing you did with these. This would not, because this had the dart posts on it, this thing would not shoot the streamline darts that were the predecessor to elite darts. This shot either Whistler darts or suction cup darts, one of the two. And you could not fit suction cup darts or Whistler darts into anything else. So if your opponents are running around with 6-round magazines and long shots, because long shots were the only thing that really shot out of magazines with streamline darts, the Maverick was competitive. So is this thing. This was your full auto option alongside the Mag Strike. This gave you capacity and rate of fire. Bit unreliable, but this was your submachine gun at the time. Now, well, we didn't even have Jolts at the time. Jolts came out in a couple of years later. So we had these. This is a secret shot. It's worse than a Jolt in every way, but it's your compact little keychain blaster that you could bring around with you. And I think I mentioned the long shot. This is what these magazines were meant for. This is also the only magazine-fed blaster that I have that uses these, and it's also the only direct plunger one. So this thing became the meta, even in modified stuff. Mine is heavily modified with an Orange Modworks kit, so yeah, let's just pretend that didn't happen. And pretend that this is just totally stock and is yellow, but this is one of the major primaries you would have had. 6-round magazines in your pockets or on a belt. And this would have been your primary. In fact, this was the go-to primary for so long. That's why they were so belovedly modified. So you would basically just be carrying, if you wanted to go all Nerf brand, one of these streamline darts in 6-round magazines, and then you would have also been carrying sticky darts or Whistler darts and carrying this as a sidearm, or you might even go with this as a primary. And then you might have had one of these. Otherwise, you probably would have grabbed a Marauder or some Enforce sword, because Enforce was a major thing at this time as well. So that's the major parts of what the loadout would entail. What gear would I pick? Well, back in 2008, cargo shorts would have been enough to carry these bloody things. And luckily for me, I got 6 of them. So I got 36 rounds, a massive amount, for my long shot. And I would have probably just carried spare shells for this and just topped it off on the and jammed it. Because these magazines suck. Magazine release sucks. But I probably would have just topped this thing off. Or even just single loaded it with shells like this. In fact, another major player at the time that you probably are very familiar with, because Busby never stopped releasing it, is the Busby Double Shot, which takes 2 of these. Now, it's been released by the Double Fire and other blasters, but you could conceivably do it. But if I could get a bunch of these magazines, and a bunch of Busby stickies, and a bunch of Busby shells, this would be another major player in the whole thing. Panther, a couple of random Busby blasters, and I would be pretty much good to go on that front. But the only problem is, this thing can't use the rest of the darts that you probably also have, because this thing is a little archaic. A couple shells in this thing because, you know, keeps them out of the way. But yeah, there's a general overview of a loadout from 2007. I hope that if any of you want to emulate or come up with your own loadout from 2007, go on Nerf Wiki and look at the blasters you think are really old, then see if they appear after 2007, like 2008 to 2012. Anything pre-elite, anything elite, is just out of the question because that line came out in 2012. So, hope you found this entertaining. Hope it inspires some comments and some thoughts. I really look forward to seeing what kinds of things you come up with for a 2007 retro tier of blasting. Take care, everyone.